Good afternoon, everyone. Let's call this meeting to order. Mark, let's start with public speakers. What do you got for us?
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We have 5 speakers. The first speaker will be Charlton D'Souza.
Good afternoon, everyone. Charlton D'Souza from Passengers United. So I need the Finance Committee to do this big favor for us, Southeast Queens commuters. We spoke to Sarah Meyer, and we've also reached out to the elected officials, and there was email sent last week and this week, and it was also covered on Pix 11 News. We need the weekly Atlantic ticket pass. That's $60, where you get a weekly unlimited Metro card and a weekly railroad pass to be cross-honored at Penn Station overnight. As part of the fare restructuring proposals that you guys did in November and December, that was supposed to be added in. There was some sort of confusion about that, and things went haywire with the electeds. But the reason why we need that is because people are getting stuck on the Manhattan Bridge coming from Manhattan on the subway to Atlantic Terminal in Brooklyn, and they're missing the 1:49 a.m. train. So what happens is now those people cannot take the subway through Brooklyn to Queens, so they have to backtrack it to Penn Station, pay another $4.50 to buy a city ticket, only to head back to Southeast Queens. And sometimes, there's been issues where the Atlantic branch is out. So I think overnight, at least from 12:30 to maybe 4:30 or 12 a.m. to 5 a.m., that could work. And actually, it happened to me. I got stuck. I missed the train by 1 minute, and I was like, damn, So if y'all could add that in and work that, we would be very grateful. I spoke to City Councilwoman Natasha Williams, State Senator Leroy Comrie, who chairs the MTA committee, and I understand there were some emails, and I even spoke to them and sent emails, so I know it's going through the inner circle of the MTA, so I'll just leave it at that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jason Anthony.
Hey Neil, congratulations on being the Finance Committee Chair. And let's see if we could get things done. And I hope that Robert Mahica will be paying attention like he always does in Albany. So, like my fellow advocate likes to focus a lot in Queens, let's focus in my birth borough, the Bronx. The Hudson Line in particular. Let's bring the Atlantic ticket version to the Hudson Line. Between Grand Central and Spot and Dival. They lack of subway connections. They could complain of missing their connection at my home station, Atlantic Terminal, Brooklyn. But those Metro North riders who use the Hudson Line, they only connect between the one line at Mobile Hill, 225th Street, and the 4, the B and the D at Yankee Stadium. Let's be fair. Let's be inclusive, not exclusive. We are here because we want to work together, not divisive. I'm here not because I'm an Amazon worker that works in Staten Island and commutes from Brooklyn to Staten Island and attended the MTA board meetings since 2016. I'm here because I want a change. And let's be fair. And I know that Neil has been paying a lot for several years now. And let's see if we could do a change. So, I'll see you guys on Thursday.
Thank you. The next speaker is Omar Vera.
Good afternoon, MTA Finance Committee. Greetings. First, let me congratulate Neil Zuckerman on being the new chair of this committee. Congratulations. Second, let's continue on these rollout because it's really important that we can finally get unlimited ride cards because that's what I'm waiting for. True, we have tap and go, the paper ride with our own bank cards and stuff, but we really need an unlimited option so that we can fully experience Omni. Because not everyone's going to do the 12 rides and it's free things. So we need an unlimited option eventually. So keep that rolling. And of course, as usual, spend the money wisely. Don't go around wasting it. So with that said, I'll yield back the balance of my time and have a good one.
Thank you. The next speaker is Fatma Baryab.
My name is Fatima Baryab. I am the Vice President of Passengers United. I would like to bring up 2 to 3 key issues that I would like the Finance Committee to address. I think that it's very important that we make sure that the express bus riders have a fare capping discount as well as Omni. We also need to make sure that the Atlantic ticket, the weekly unlimited pass that costs $60, is cross-honored at Penn Station. Right now, the Atlantic Pass is only available to certain riders who ride from Queens to Brooklyn. So it would be amazing if we can honor the full freedom ticket and expand the availability to other parts of Queens, especially suburban areas. I'm a resident of Elmhurst, and currently we have a major problem because it's hard to get to and from Long Island and back to the city or close to the city. Lastly, we have a lot of infrastructure. For instance, there is infrastructure in Elmhurst to expand to the LIR, and we aren't really addressing that. I think that it would be amazing if we can expand to the LIR and make sure that we aren't being denied our right to transit and having full accessibility to make sure that all riders across New York City, across the region, have basically a way of commute that is more accessible to everyone and not just select areas. Thank you.
Thank you. The final speaker is remote, and that is Andy Pollack.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, especially to Commissioner Zuckerman, as this is his first official meeting sharing finance. And I'm just going to say briefly that I wish Larry Shorts the best in his future endeavors. So I'm here to talk about Long Island Railroad fares again. So first point I want to discuss for February is beginning next week, there's going to be some decent progress towards what I like to call the beta stage of the Freedom Ticket program for off-peak trains. We're going to be able to pay $5 just like the Atlantic ticket from Brooklyn to Queens. So I'm hoping that this is going to work out in the long run, because I would love to see the Freedom Ticket finally become permanent, because we would like another option from the Bronx or Queens to be able to use Metro North for the Long Island Railroad for a fair price, especially if we're traveling in city terminal. The last thing I need to bring up is what I discussed in January, and that is, of course, the on-peak fares for disabled and seniors. Literally a month ago, I was talking about this. It's February 22nd, and we're a week away from on-peak fares resuming. So I don't know what's going on. New Jersey Transit doesn't even have an on-peak fare. So I'm hoping that this can get corrected within a week, because if not, I'm thinking about taking serious action about this. So with that, thank you all very much, and I hope to speak to you all again during March. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chair Zuckerman, this concludes the public speakers.
All right, thank you, Mark. Just a few remarks, if you'll indulge me for a moment. First of all, I want to welcome Haida to this committee. You weren't?
Always.
Oh, well, then I take it
I
back.
guess I didn't leave such a.
It seems like that's the common belief is you just joined this committee, so you may have come and didn't know it. So I will not welcome you. I retract my welcome. I know Elizabeth Velez, who's not here today, is joining this committee, and her small business experience we know will be very important to us. And then we have our new CFO. He and I are new to today's meeting in some sense. So Kevin, welcome. We're very lucky to have you. Your private sector experience in the muni bond market means a great deal to us, helping organizations like the one now you're going to lead. So thank you for that. Just a couple of things. I am honored to be in this role. I want to thank all the public speakers for their kind words. I want to thank Governor Hochul and Chair Lieber for this opportunity. It means a lot to me. I have learned a lot from my predecessors, especially Larry Schwartz, who was in this role for the last 5-6 years and did, I think, an enormously important job, as well as your predecessor, Bob Foran, who taught me a great deal about muni financing, a little that I actually retained. Look, I'll say the following. Look, Senator Schumer and Governor Hochul have staved off near-term fiscal harm, and I know our fellow board member and state budget director has helped us do that, and we thank them for their leadership. We all owe them a debt, but our role is clear as a finance committee. We will need to focus on preparing this org financially for the outer years, because depending on the scenarios for ridership, the fiscal stability of this organization will have very important things to say. And so our stewardship of both the top line revenue and the bottom line cost will be very important for what those outer years look like. And what we do now over the next year or two as we get ready for those years will set the stage, whether we're all on this board or not at those times, but it will be very important. And that's a tall task. I'm confident our new CFO and our new chair and CEO will get us there, and we as a board or as a committee are here to help you do that in any way possible. So thank you for this opportunity. And Kevin, I'll turn it over to you to say some intro remarks yourself.
Okay, thank you, Neil, and just a quick welcome. I am new to Finance Committee and the MTA, and excited to be here and excited to be joining the MTA team, working with everybody on the committee, on the board, our governmental partners, and it's exciting. I've got 30 plus years in the private sector, and of the 32 years I've been serving the MTA, 10 years as financial advisor. So I'm excited to come inside and be part of this great organization. Working in public finance for my entire professional career really gives me the passion for public service, and I feel like there's no better place to do it than at the MTA. So I appreciate the opportunity everybody's giving me, and look forward to digging in.
Great. Well, we're lucky to have you, so thanks for joining. All right, can I get a motion to approve the January 2022 minutes, please?
So moved.
Second. Any comments, questions, revisions, edits? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Okay, so moved. Abstentions, opposition. Okay, great. All right, Mark, work plan, please.
All right, yes, there are no changes to the work plan.
Well, that was great. Okay, budget watch, Mark.
Yes, Budget Watch. So the next item on the agenda is Budget Watch, which was included in the exhibit book. I believe you all received copies today as well. In this report, we're comparing the January operating results and subsidies received through February, and we're comparing them versus the adopted budget for 2022. Just as an outset, it's 1 month of actuals, so it's hard to draw long-term conclusions about 2022 based on 1 month of actuals. And in addition, finance's staff is in the middle of going through the year-end close for 2021. So that always kind of distorts temporarily what we see in the actuals. We'll be reporting on the final year 2021 results in April. That having been said, there are some important things to take from the information we've seen through January. I know everybody's been looking very closely at ridership and toll revenue and the number of crossings because they're critical to the MTA's finances. I don't think it comes as a surprise to anybody here, and it came up in many of the committee meetings earlier today. January was a tough month as far as the ridership and revenue was concerned due to the variant. Fare box revenue fell $96 million short of the budget target, with shortfalls at all of the agencies in terms of fare box revenue. New York City Transit and MTA Bus were down 26 and 32% respectively when it came to revenue. Long Island Railroad was down 37%. Metro North was down 40%. The good news, and I think you heard a little bit of this today, is that in the last few weeks, ridership started creeping back up again after hopefully the peak of the variant. So, and that was especially true on the subways and the buses. Toll revenue was also down by $4 billion during January, but again, the number of crossings has now been approaching 100% again of pre-pandemic levels. So again, that was in the last 2 weeks or so. When it comes to operating expenses, in January, they were $51 million below the budget. The primary drivers of the favorable results were the existence of vacancies and the timing of a lot of non-labor expenses, which, as I said before, will get cleaned up as we complete the close. Partially offsetting that was as part of the net $51 million was overtime expenditures did exceed the budget by $9 million. That was primarily, again, related to vacancy and absentee coverage. Debt service expenses were $10 million favorable, reflecting the timing of deposits and lower than projected variable rates. Subsidy receipts were also favorable by $161 million. And again, this is through February, information through the February subsidies. The main driver of this was real estate transaction taxes, which were $161 million favorable. Payroll mobility tax was also favorable by $15 million, and the petroleum business tax and for-hire vehicle surcharge were down by $15 million total. Again, staff's in the process of completing the year-end close, and the final 2021 results will be presented later this year. That having been said, are there any questions on the January results?
So, yeah, I just want to interject. So the February financial plan is out. I'll be discussing it at the full board meeting on Thursday. There's no action required by either the committee or the board. As Mark mentioned, ridership and fares were off pretty significantly due to Omicron in January. The February plan doesn't update any ridership or revenue assumptions. We are going to be looking at that for the July plan. So we've gone out. We're going to update the McKinsey report, which is a little bit over a year old now since the last update, and try to get a refreshed look at projected ridership and fare revenue for not only the balance of this year but into the future, and then adjust the July plan accordingly. As Mark mentioned, we had plenty of positive variances in the first couple months that more than offset the lost fare revenue. But clearly, this is a year, if we follow the McKinsey midpoint, that there's substantial expectation of growth in ridership, and so we're going to take a good hard look at that. Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but prior to Omicron, I think we were exceeding the McKinsey estimates.
Correct. Prior to Omicron and even through December was fine. We were either at or exceeding the McKinsey midpoint. And then the question is, in this year going forward, will we continue to see that return of ridership? Obviously, just one important, the biggest item reported in the February financial plan is going to be the significant additional state appropriations that will allow us to cancel the fare increase for this year and as it was canceled last year, which really I think will feed into the helping to try and get the return of ridership. And so the additional money in the executive budget not only covers the lost revenue from the fare increase through the whole financial plan period, but provides additional that helps us continue to whittle away at any need for deficit financing out in the out years. So that's really the only significant change in the February financial plan. Again, July will update based on the revenue forecast and take a good look at it. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is Finance Watch, and this can be found on page 20 of the book, and Pat McCoy will take us through that.
Good afternoon. So just a few transactions to report in Finance Watch today. The first being on February 1st, we had a successful remarketing of various pieces of bonds in the tender rate mode. These are bonds that will be remarketed on a variable rate basis, and they will be based on 67% of the secured overnight funding rate plus a spread. So we were very pleased with how that worked out, and our lead manager on that deal was J.P. Morgan, and the results are in the book there. Next, we had $592 million TBTA payroll mobility tax issue on February 10th. This was an issuance that will be used to defease, or was used to defease, a $750 million dedicated tax fund bond anticipation note, or BAN, the 2019 A series. Ramirez and Company, one of our senior managers, it's a minority-owned firm, worked together with Academy, Loop, and Stern, other special designated special co-senior managers. This transaction resulted in a all-in true interest cost of 3.18% with an average life of 27.19 years. All the ratings were affirmed. AA plus from S&P and Fitch, and AA from Kroll. And of course, we had no waiver. We had no bond issuance charge there. We'll be pricing some dedicated tax fund bonds this week. And this is approximately a $400 million issue, the Series 2022A, and this will retire outstanding transportation revenue bands, also bond anticipation notes, that are currently held by the Municipal Liquidity Facility. So we'll be taking those out this week, and I'll report on the results of the transaction next month. Lastly, on January 25th, we executed a 2.8 million gallon ULSD fuel hedge. The winning bid was submitted by Jay Aaron of the Goldman Sachs team at $2.36 a gallon, and this was out for the competitive bid. So just an update on that. Happy to take any questions on these or any other financing matters.
Anybody?
I just want to make one comment, Pat, on the fixed rate bond sale, the payroll tax. Again, it's been pretty choppy markets the first couple of months. Last year, markets were really friendly. This year, they've started not being friendly. But the bond sale went at really tight spreads, and again, part of it shows the benefit again of the state being able to offer MTA to secure bonds by the payroll tax rather than the fare box credit, and kind of these type of unsettled markets. That's where you get the most value out of being able to put the best credit forward, so it saves a significant amount of money.
Appreciate that, Kevin. It was a very challenging week in the market, and we were pleased that investors did show up and cared to own the bonds at the levels we were offering.
Thank you, Pat. Next, we move to MTA headquarters and all agency items. They begin on page 31 of the committee book. There are 2 action items for headquarters. The first item seeks committee and board approval to authorize the MTA to make mandated mortgage recording tax payments to Dutchess, Orange, and Rockland counties pursuant to the Public Authorities Law. The second item seeks committee and board approval to authorize the transfer of Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority operating surplus funds and investment income to the MTA, also pursuant to the Public Authorities Law. Staff is available to answer any questions on these items, but they do both need to be voted on.
Yeah, and those sound like we have to have separate votes on those. Yeah, so can I get a motion for the non-Putnam County, Dutchess, Orange, and Rockland payments, please? Thank you. Second. All right. Any comments, questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions. Okay, great. And then secondly, for the transfer of TBTA surpluses to the MTA pursuant to the public authority.
I second then.
Okay, wonderful. Any comments, questions? No? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions. Thank you. Both carry. All right, Mark, let's do procurements, please.
Yes, next we move to procurements. Kuvesh Iyer, Chief Procurement Officer.
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, board members. MTA headquarters has one non-competitive procurement action totaling $9.2 million. Board approval is sought to modify an existing maintenance services contract with Nokia of America Corporation to extend the contract term for an additional 2 years, plus 2-year options for Nokia to continue to provide technical assistance and maintenance support for the VHF radio system. The VHF radio system provides critical communications between the Rail Control Center and Department of Subways dispatchers, towers, and subway train crews in real time. This radio system allows train crews to communicate critical right-of-way issues such as broken rails, unauthorized persons on the tracks, employee track flagging matters, and mechanical and safety issues to the RCC in real time. I submit this item for your approval.
Thank you. Hey, was that discussed at Transit today?
It was not.
No. Okay. All right. So can I get a motion to approve the VHF communications tower? Okay. Second.
Second.
All right. Any conversation on this necessary? None?
Yes.
Yeah. There's no question about that. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions. All right. Great. Thank you. Continue, please.
Thank you. Moving over to Metro North. Metro North, on behalf of itself, Long Island Railroad, and New York City Transit, requests approval to award a 5-year non-competitive original equipment manufacturer purchase agreement in the estimated amount of $296,063,000 to the firm Webtech Corporation. Under this purchase agreement, Webtech will provide various parts, components, and repair services as needed for Metro North and Long Island cars, rail cars, coach cars, and locomotives, and all of New York City Transit subway cars. It is noteworthy to mention that a category management approach was adopted for this unified procurement, thereby leveraging the collective spend of 3 agencies, as well as items that are common to the agencies, resulting in favorable pricing for the MTA. Additional benefits are the process efficiencies that will reduce the procurement lead times needed to award, as well as reducing the number of individual procurement items. The 5-year term also assures the agencies that the OEM will continue to maintain the tooling and manufacturing capabilities necessary to produce the parts which are not available from any other source. I submit this item for your approval.
All right. Thank you very much. Can I get a motion to approve the Webtech piece? All right. Second?
Second.
All right. Any questions, comments on it? this was discussed at the Joint Railroad Committee, which is Hato in part why I asked if the VHF piece had been discussed at Subway. So no comments. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. All right, thank you.
Thank
Vash.
you. I move over to New York City Transit. Chair, this item was also discussed at the Transit Committee. And the New York City Transit procurement package included an item requesting for an authorization to use the competitive RFP process for upcoming bus procurements. We have 1,729 buses remaining to procure in the 2020 to 2024 capital program for New York City Transit as well as MTA bus to replace buses that have reached their reached the end of their 12-year useful life. New York City Transit has consistently requested and received board approval to utilize this RFP process for competitive acquisition of buses, and it affords greater ability not only to take into account project price, but to weigh additional factors such as quality of the proposer and product, delivery, negotiation of contract terms such as warranty and payment terms, and any other factors deemed relevant to operations. In the past, New York City Transit has submitted these requests of this nature on an iterative basis at the onset of each bus procurement. By requesting this blanket authorization, the procurement lead times will be streamlined and shortened, supporting the expedited acquisition of all-electric buses and other replacement buses in the capital plan. Upon completion, and I stress on each RFP, we will come back to the board and request approval for each of these RFPs to be awarded. I request your approval of this item.
Neil, this was discussed this
Okay,
morning.
good. And I'm
So
sorry,
I'll move it.
the notes say that the first one, I'm sorry, I kept pointing to you. The first one was for the MTA headquarters, but its use is for Department of Subways, which
Right.
is why I
So-
find it,
Let me explain that,
yeah,
Chair.
please. That
So-
seems like a strange.
So basically what we have is we have consolidated a certain portion of our procurements that we have what we call non-core and core procurement. So for instance, under non-core indirect, we have the medical insurance, professional services, consulting services, and this particular procurement is under that consolidated group, which doesn't really have a home, so we bring it to MTA HQ for approval. The consolidated indirect procurement group represents procurements and conducts procurements for all of the agencies, but they are more indirect or non-core in nature.
That there's something that makes sense about that. I'm just going to say, it sounds like the usage of the radio is for transit and only transit, so probably would have been useful if there was I don't know what the question would have been in transit about it, but there could have been one, so, thank you, sir.
I noticed this procurement has a large number of buses that aren't all electric, and I know that we're moving towards an all-electric fleet. So I'm wondering how this particular group gets us to that point when there's so many that are not electric.
Well, quite correct. But what we're doing is out of this 1,700, we have 485 all-electric buses. But what is a pressing matter that we have for these buses is that the remaining buses have reached, and even in some cases, extended their useful life. So we really have an urgent need to procure and replace these buses. Also, what we've realized is that with the 485 all-electric buses, we have to be able to procure, but in parallel, be able to make sure that the charging infrastructure will be readily available to make sure that these buses are going to run. So all in all, we are working with operations to ensure that we have that ability to, if we can, increase all electrics, but at the same time, there is a dire need to replace the aging old buses.
Other comments or questions on this procurement? Can I get a motion, please, to
I
approve it?
so move.
Second? Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All right, Mark, I think we can jump to consolidated reports, please.
The MTA Consolidated Financial and Operating Reports begin on page 54. Staff's available to answer any questions.
Any questions, folks? None? Nope.
Okay.
All right, hearing none, let's move on to real
Okay.
estate. Oh, sorry, do you have
Yes.
a point?
No,
Okay, all right. Let's go. David, floor is yours.
Thank you. Real estate has 6 action items for consideration and approval. 4 are for New York City Transit. The first is a modification of the lease of Brookfield Properties for office space in 1 Pierpont Plaza in Brooklyn. The second is an extension of the lease with Kaufman 8th Avenue Associates for office space we already have at 519 8th Avenue. The third is an agreement with Q Management in connection with ADA elevator construction at the 181st Street station. And the last for transit is the license agreement with the Gowanus Canal Conservancy for the operation of a tree nursery in Brooklyn. The fifth item is for MTA Metro North and is a lease agreement with Brew LLC for a restaurant use in the Pearl River Station. And the sixth and final item is for the MTA headquarters. It's a modification of the agreement with Boston Properties for the development of our Madison Avenue properties. Bob Paley, head of our of MTA's Transit-Oriented Development Group, is here to answer questions regarding items 3 and 6. In addition, there are 3 information items. We're happy to answer any questions regarding the foregoing.
Bob, do you want to provide any additional explanation or discussion on the Boston Properties piece? Is there anything you want to say?
Sure. So the modification we're seeking is from the originally approved deal, which was struck at the height of the market before COVID, with the...
Why don't you just remind everyone what the deal is?
Oh,
'cause
thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's,
I know deal guys can get deep into the thing and forget that we don't, just
thank
go
you.
back. Yeah.
So this is for the redevelopment of the MTA former headquarters on Madison Avenue, which was vacated several years ago in order to make that site available for redevelopment opportunities. Part of our longer-term strategy of looking at all of our real estate assets to see how we can leverage them for maximum revenue-generating potential. This was clearly one of the most promising. And we worked very closely with the City of New York as the city was moving towards rezoning the East Midtown District to provide for higher building sizes in order to refresh the East Midtown area. So as part of that rezoning initiative, our site was eligible for a new bonus, which would be for up to 30 times the site area in exchange for building transit improvements. So MTA issued an RFP to get a development partner to redevelop the site. Boston Properties was selected. They had the highest bid. Part of the project requires that they build an on-site transit improvement, which is a very significant new entrance that will go directly from Madison Avenue and 45th Street to the new Long Island Railroad concourse level. It'll actually be the most direct access point for our customers who, by and large, want to go west of the new concourse. So it'll be highly visible. It'll be an incredibly attractive entrance, and it'll be constructed by Boston Properties as part of the development. The issue, of course, that we ran into is that the COVID pandemic struck, which we viewed, and we all viewed as a force majeure impact. The real estate market was essentially frozen, and we were faced with a very difficult situation. The original deal requires that Boston Properties required that they, upon closing, commit to the actual construction of the office building itself, because the economics of the deal are derived not just from the ground rent, but also from the payment in lieu of real estate taxes. So combined, that gives us the economics of the deal. Clearly, without support from a marketplace, which was the situation when COVID struck, they couldn't make the commitment to build the office tower upon closing. So we reached an agreement with the developer that they would have a one-time right to terminate the ground lease in exchange for which they would have to construct earlier the new entrance. So the arrangement would be that we would, upon approval of the terms by the board, we would close on the ground lease this summer. They would then have a 2-year period in which to see where the market is going. But during that period, they have to construct and complete the new entrance. So we get the entrance delivered several years earlier than otherwise would have been the case, so that's a significant benefit to us. But then after the end of that 2-year period, which by the way is a fixed date, it's a time of the essence date, it's July 2024, they either have to terminate or they will continue and post the completion guarantees and commit to actually building the office tower. In the event, which in my view, seeing how the real estate market is improving, I think is a somewhat remote event, but in the event that they do elect to terminate, we would then have a fully entitled site. The building would have been demolished, of course, that we have on the site today, but the new entrance would be in place and we'd be in a position to bid it out to whatever the marketplace is at that point. So I'm happy to entertain any further questions. I hope that explained the context here.
Very helpful. Other questions?
Yeah, well, I guess I'd comment because I'm familiar with it. I mean, this is essentially a creative way to keep the project moving forward, where the alternative would have been to start over with a new, what could be 2 or 3 year process just to get somebody else to the table. So you essentially preserved all the economics, got the transit improvement will get started in exchange for giving Boston Properties some flexibility to, I guess, pull the ripcord if the market, tanks. But it seems like it makes sense. The alternative, we would just have to play the real estate market for a couple of years and hope somebody else showed up with a better deal, right?
Yeah, and let me just add to that, which is that Boston Properties agreed to continue to pursue the public approvals, which they completed in November for the redevelopment. So we have a fully entitled site. In the alternative, if we had decided to just go back to the marketplace, we would have had to start that process, not only selecting a new developer, but start that whole entitlement process all over. So you not only have the market uncertainty, you have the whole process uncertainty as well.
Plus this location benefits from the East Midtown zoning bonus area.
Yep.
All right, other comments? Can I get a motion to move all 6 real estate items as a package, please?
I so move all 6.
All right, second. Thank you. Any comments? No? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions. Okay, there we go. All right, any new business in front of the committee? None? Hearing none? All right, a motion to adjourn, please. Second. All right, thank you very much. Have a good night. See you Thursday.